Yes, lads, welcome back to the channel. Today, we've got predictions for the Premier League. First game week, it's back on Friday night. Liverpool versus Bournemouth. I can't wait. I did do some Premier League season predictions. That is also up on the channel. So if you haven't seen that already, go and check that out. See where I put everyone. I gave everyone a key player, a best new signing, and a one to watch, as well as just talking why I think they're going to finish there. So if you haven't seen that, as I say, go and check that out. So every week, I'm going to be doing a preview for the Premier League. I'm going to be picking 5 games to talk about in a bit more detail. And I'm also going to cover the other 5 as well and just give a bit more of a basic overview and just say sort of what the score is, if there's anything to talk about the game. And then I'm also going to be doing a review on the Premier League as well after the weekend's action. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But let's get into this week's predictions. As I say, very excited to have the Premier League back. Can't wait to see how certain players get on. There's a lot of exciting new signings, especially strikers. So yeah, what's not to love? Premier League predictions, let's get into it. So lads, for the first of my 5 games to talk about in a bit more detail, I've decided to go for Liverpool versus Bournemouth. I thought, it's a good one to go for. Liverpool, reigning champions, kicking off the season for us. How are they going to do with all the new signings? As well as Bournemouth, who's lost a couple of key players. I wonder how they're going to react to that and see how the new players that have come in do get on. So this one to me, very exciting game, a lot to be seen here. So who is going to miss the game to start with? We'll go for Liverpool first. Ryan Gravenberch picked up a suspension in the previous season. That is carried over to this season, so he's going to miss the first game. As well as that, we've also got Connor Bradley and Joe Gomez, both set to not feature. Connor Bradley a bit more likely to maybe get in the squad, didn't feature in the Community Shield. Not sure how far away he is exactly. As for Bournemouth, Unal injured until October. It's also Ryan Christie, Justin Kluivert, Lewis Sinisterra, and Lewis Cook. So as well as losing a lot of key players, Bournemouth now without some other key players that just might not make it. There's a couple that are a bit tentative. They might make the bench, but overall I'm expecting Bournemouth squad, in comparison to where it finished last season, to be so much weaker on game week 1. But with that, I think this is going to be a Liverpool win. I'm going to go for 2-0 to Liverpool as well. I don't think Bournemouth are going to be in any trouble, but the start of the season may prove to be a little bit more difficult for them. It's at Anfield as well, a very difficult place to go and play your best football. And I just think Liverpool, with all the new signings, all the buzz around the club, they're going to want to make a great start to the season. 3 points, nothing less on that first game. Arne Slot, we know what he's like now. He's had the season to come in. They won the title, the expectations there, the money's been spent, and I'm very keen to see how they get on in this game. But I think the key players for either side are going to be Semenyo, of course, for Bournemouth, who's their biggest threat, especially with Kluivert not on the pitch. And for Liverpool, I'm looking at a TK. I'm really thinking he's going to be something special. Whether Isak comes or not, it's not a guaranteed start because this lad looks very lively. He's going to know that the Isak talks are happening, maybe taking place, so he's going to want to put a great performance in and show Slot why he should be starting, or at least that Isak has to fit in around him. Up next, of course, I am going to go for Aston Villa versus Newcastle. A great game on paper. It really is one of those games that when I saw the fixture list, not just because I'm a Villa fan, but it stood out. And it's going to be very interesting to see where these two teams are. Last time Villa played Newcastle on the first game of the season, we lost 4-1. So I'm going to be very interested to see how this one goes. In terms of who's not available, of course, Emi Martinez suspended for this first game. So expect Villa to start new goalkeeper Bizot in his place, arrived from Brest. Going to be very keen to see if he's up to the task of being Villa's number 2, a position that they've needed to fill for such a long time. As well as for Newcastle, it is actually Alexander Isak who is suspended. So even if he wasn't trying to get a move away, he isn't able to play. And in terms of the injury doubts, Morgan Rogers, a bit of an ankle injury for Villa. He may not start, but should make the bench. Same for Anthony Gordon, may not start the game, but should make the bench. And Joe Willock, I believe, does also have a knock. So some key players there missing for both sides. So it's going to be a very, very interesting game to see who comes out on top and starts the season as they mean to go on. For me, it's a 3-1 win for Villa. I just think at home, Villa are going to be very strong. Newcastle lost 6 in a row in terms of pre-season. I know you can't look at pre-season as a sort of gauge as to where a team is, but I think with the loss of Isak, the fact that there's no striker that's yet to come in as I'm filming this video, or there won't be one that makes it for the weekend, I'm very worried in terms of that, especially if Anthony Gordon is out. So I'm going to go for a Newcastle goal at some point, but overall, Villa to maybe go sort of 2-0 up, 2-1, and then get the third. In terms of the players to watch out for me, it's going to be Ollie Watkins. World Cup year, Ollie Watkins is going to want to start this season on fire because to me, as much as I love Harry Kane is a great player, arguably England's best striker, of course. But Ollie Watkins is going to want to give Tuchel a massive headache and say he should be starting. Ollie's numbers have been fantastic the last couple of seasons. He now needs to pick it up again. A big season ahead for Ollie Watkins is going to start well on Saturday for me. As for Newcastle, as we mentioned, limitations to their attack. Isak 100% not playing. Gordon is doubtful, so I'm looking at new signing Anthony Elanga to set this game on fire for Newcastle. He's going to need to come in straight away, pressure's on. It's likely to be Harvey Barnes on the other side, but I can see Villa pressing quite high in Newcastle's half, and that is where Elanga can cause the damage on the counter-attack, and that is exactly how I'm expecting Eddie Howe to set his team up. So yeah, they're going to be very difficult to play against, and Elanga's going to have a lot of things to be doing on that right wing, causing Villa a lot of trouble, whether it is Maatson or Dean that plays up against him. Up next, I'm going to go for Chelsea up against Crystal Palace, and I think this is a great game on paper. You've got Chelsea who are now looking to prove that they are ready to push for the title, and every Chelsea fan and every Chelsea player is going to have the same mindset of, well, why can't we? We've made the signings. The team is very good. We're Club World Cup champions, champions of the world, whether you believe it to be a genuine competition or not. That is what they are. They are going to be challenging for this title. That is the objective from day one in this season. So, Crystal Palace, a European contender in the Conference League, of course. Obviously, a horrific decision from UEFA, but they're in the Conference League. So, Chelsea going to want to start the season well, of course, up against the Palace side, who have got a bit of a chip on their shoulder. They're going to want to show to everyone, yes, we may have had some bad news. We won the Community Shield, and now guess what? We've got to win on the first game of the season. So, this, to me, is a great game on paper. In terms of who is missing, we'll start again with Chelsea. So Nicholas Jackson, whether he'd feature or not in this game, I'm unsure, but he is also suspended for the first game of the season. They've got Colwill and Fofana out. Of course, Colwill, it looks to be an ACL, which is awful news considering how much Thomas Tuchel does like him. Another centre-back out is Badiashile, and then Lavia also out for Chelsea for this game. As for Crystal Palace, it is Eddie Nketiah who is out, Kamada who picked up an injury in the Community Shield, and Doucouré. They're the most notable ones for Palace. There's a couple of other ones, but I don't think they'd be in and around the team anyway. So yeah, a couple of players out for both teams, maybe more so for Crystal Palace. They look like they'll miss their players the most. But as far as a prediction goes, I'm going to go for a Chelsea win, and I think it's going to be 3-1. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a 3-1 game. It might be a lot more even than that. But Chelsea's new signings should have enough to power them through. I'm expecting João Pedro to be starting up front with Liam Delap to come on at some point for him, and what a great sub that is. That's how you build a title winning team. You have subs like that to come off the bench and make an impact. So very keen to see who wins the battle overall for that striker position out of those two, as well as the player I've got down for the one to watch for Chelsea. It's Jamie Gittins. Is he going to start? It's such an unknown with Chelsea just due to the amount of players that they've got. But Jamie Gittins, for me, if he does start, he's going to make a huge impact on this game and show the Premier League that he is ready. Obviously, an English lad looking to get in to, of course, the World Cup squad. So if he can start things well and really build that momentum, who knows where he'll be. He's obviously playing in a position that there's a lot of competition for. But Jadon Sancho, it didn't quite work out for him at Chelsea. Same with Raheem Sterling. Jamie Gittins, fresh start. Let's see how he does. As we mentioned, Chelsea's defence, there's quite a few injuries to the centre-backs. Robert Sanchez himself has been backed as the number one. As soon as I saw Donnarumma was up for sale, I was adamant he'd go to Chelsea. That doesn't look to be the case at the minute. But yeah, Chelsea's defence, I'm not 100% sure how solid that will be. And so for my one to watch for Crystal Palace, of course, I've got to go for Mateta. Another striker that's going to want to try and push into his World Cup squad. And I just think against this Chelsea defence, he can cause them problems. So maybe it finishes maybe 3-2, but I have it down as 3-1. There's goals in this game, 100%. And yeah, on paper, another great game to start the season. Up next, I had to go for this one. This is my game of the week. It's Manchester United up against Arsenal. What a game this has the potential to be, which actually means it's probably going to finish 0-0 and we're all going to go, how on earth is that 0-0? This is the battle of the new signings. For Manchester United, of course, we've got Mbeumo, Cunha and Sesko. And for Arsenal, we've got Zumabedi, Gyökeres, Norgard. Yeah, we'll leave Norgard out of this. But Gyökeres and Zumabedi, I cannot wait to see how this game goes. I can't wait to see how all these new players fit into the systems, who gets the start, who's on the bench. I think it's not as black and white, and especially from what we've seen from the EFL so far, there's been a few surprise lineups of letting players just bed into the team before they get the start. I'm expecting the same with the Premier League. It's going to be a great game. So who's not in the squad then? It looks to be Onana might miss the first game of the season. A big loss for Manchester United. Bayandir, he can come in and do a good job, but they will miss Onana. I am so surprised they weren't able to get the Donnarumma deal done before this weekend. Even if it happens now, it's still too late. I think the window to do it would maybe be Thursday evening, so it would be unbelievably tight. But it looks as though Onana set to miss the game, as well as Joshua Zirkzee, which is also a big miss in terms of a bit of flexibility up front, as well as that Aiden Heaven, who I've tipped as their one to watch this season, looking like he's going to miss the first game. And then we've also got Mazraoui as well. Of course, Lisandro Martinez is injured until October, so he's not going to feature till then. So in terms of who is in that back three, if Heaven doesn't quite make the team, it's going to be very interesting to see. And there is going to be one man in particular, Mr. Victor Gyökeres, who's going to be keeping a keen eye to see who it is that gets in that team. Arsenal, nice and simple. Majority of the squad is fit. It's Trossard and it's, of course, Gabriel Jesus. Both of those expected back at some point in September, I believe. But yeah, not huge losses there for Arsenal. Manchester United, far more concerning in terms of who may miss the first game. Now, I have goals in this game. I have gone for it. I think the score will be 3-2, and I think it's going to be 3-2 to Arsenal. So I can see there being goals in this game, especially from the Manchester United end, just because the defence looks quite weak with the injuries they've got. Bayandir is just an all-right goalkeeper, and Arsenal's attack is very good. You know, Saka, Gyökeres, Odegaard, even how Rice gets involved with the attacking play as well. Martinelli, of course, and that attack to me just screams problems for that Manchester United defence. So I do think there's going to be goals there. I'm going to be very, very keen to see how Victor Gyökeres does. This, for me, is a game where it's almost like the script has been written. He's got to score. He's got to announce himself, do the iconic celebration. I can see second half, gets his goal in front of that Arsenal away end. And yeah, this is exactly the sort of game that for me personally, if I was him, I'd be relishing to say, yes, the Premier League, I've been in English football before. I've tried it with Brighton in the Premier League. It wasn't my time. I'm here now and I'm here to stay and show you all that I am one of the best strikers in the world. But of course, we mentioned that Manchester United have made a few signings, and those signings are going to provide some goals for me. Bruno Fernandes will be licking his lips. Instead of seeing Højlund up front when he gets the ball, he's going to be seeing Sesko. Sesko, to me, same as Victor Gyökeres. This is why this game is so interesting. I can't wait to see how Sesko does. The problem for Sesko, and maybe even 2 goals for United, is being a bit generous. I've given them 2 because they're at Old Trafford. But Sesko up against the 2 best centre-backs in the league. Yes, I said it. In terms of a partnership, Gabriel and Saliba, they're by far the best partnership for me. So what a test that is for Sesko to start with. It's just going to be a great game. If you ever needed a reminder that the Premier League is back in full swing, Super Sunday, Sky Sports, Manchester United, Arsenal. I cannot wait to see this game and who comes out on top. Lastly, I wanted to go for the Monday night game, which is, of course, Leeds versus Everton. And the reason that I've gone for this game and maybe not a Wolves Man City is because I really like the look of it. Again, on paper, this is a great game. You've got Leeds back in the Premier League, and I know that they were here recently, but this time feels different. Record points in the Championship, a far better squad than when they came up last time. They've spent money. The money seems to be paying off in terms of pre-season and how the signings have gone. So yeah, Leeds looking as strong as they can for where they are. And then you've got Everton, who have made so many new signings, in particular Jack Grealish. Now, this is a bit of a controversial one. A lot of people are saying Grealish is finished. I don't think so. Remember, Pep Guardiola, so structured in the way he has his teams, especially his wingers. Even when you look at Riyad Mahrez at Leicester to Mahrez at City, it was a different player. He was a lot more sort of organised and a lot more disciplined to do the right thing and not have that creative freedom, which I love that from Pep. As much as some people say it damages football, to me, that is how you win games. And that is his job. He's the manager. He's there to win games. So Jack Grealish, under David Moyes, a bit more freedom to do as he pleases, like he had when he was with Dean Smith at Aston Villa. This is a £100 million player. People are sleeping on that. Maybe, even if he gets half of the form, what a player they've got in a World Cup year as well. You know, unfortunate for James Maddison, who picked up an injury, and Morgan Gibbs-White didn't get his move. There's space in that England team for Jack Grealish, but he's got to go and get it. New lease of life at Everton, and that's why I look at this game and just think there's a lot to love, as well as a couple of other signings that Everton have made, with Barry coming in, the big tall striker. How's he going to do? Similar to Sesko, similar to Gyökeres. How is he going to do in this league? What an exciting game that is. Monday Night Football. I'm very much looking forward for that one. But in terms of who isn't going to make the cut, Jayden Bogle for Leeds picked up a bit of a knock. I'm not sure he's going to feature. And then I'm not actually sure how factual this is, but the new signing Bijlow, he has a red card from the Serie A. Maybe it comes over. I'm not actually 100% sure. We'll have to double check on that one. But if that is the case, he would miss the game if it does come over. For Everton, it is Mikalenko and Patterson. So either fullback, really. I know Everton do have a bit of depth in those positions, but that's going to be a big blow for them. So we'll have to see who starts at left back and who starts at right back. But I actually think this game is going to be electric. I'm going to go for a draw, and I'm going to go for a 2-2. I think Ellen Road, it's what a ground it is, by the way. What a fan base as well. It's going to be absolutely bouncing. And in terms of that, I think it will carry the team and really push them on. Leeds are going to have to change their style of play from the Championship. And I think that Farke knows that. I don't think he's going to see the season out. I think they're going to go and get actually quite a high level appointment, maybe around Christmas time. But until then, he'll know his tactics have to change. So the game is going to be a lot more of Everton controlling the game, controlling the ball, having few chances, trying to break Leeds down, and then using players like Daniel James, like Notto, on the counter-attack to really cause Everton trouble, especially, as I mentioned, with the lack of depth in those fullback positions for this game. So yeah, 2-2 is what I'm going to go for. I think it's going to be a great game, a great advert for Premier League football that doesn't contain any of the big six or the European contenders. Leeds looking to stay up, Everton looking to push on to Europe. Great game on paper, and that concludes the 5 games I'm going to talk about in detail. Now I'm going to cover the other 5 games in a bit less detail and just give my thoughts on what's going to happen. Brighton up against Fulham. I've got this as a Brighton win. I think it's going to be 1-0. I'm not expecting Fulham to do very good things this season. They haven't had a good transfer window. And Brighton, I'm expecting some steady progress, maybe a bit of consistency to stay around the mid-table mark. Big fan of Hertz there. Big fan of the signings that they do bring in. Kostoulas is the one that I'm looking at to say, okay, is this lad going to take this league by storm? So Brighton 1, Fulham 0. That's my prediction. But overall, just a Brighton win. 2-1, 1-0, whatever it might be. Brighton to get the job done. Up next, Sunderland up against West Ham. I was so torn on this game. I wanted to give the win to Sunderland, but I just couldn't. I do think West Ham will be a structured team. I just can't see them scoring many goals. When you get Callum Wilson in to be your main man, he's had his time. His time is not here anymore. It's not a good signing. It's not a progressive signing. And Fulkrug, I mean, look, he didn't really hit on last season. Maybe he's about to have a good season, but I don't see West Ham scoring too many goals. So I think Sunderland, with their new players, they're going to take some time to gel in. The Stadium of Light, it's going to be absolutely bouncing, very similar to Ellen Road. So I am expecting a good turnout from the Sunderland fans to drive their team forward. But overall, 1-1. And I think, to be honest with you, bearing in mind where we are in the season, I think either team would be happy with the draw, to be honest. So yeah, 1-1. Tottenham up against Burnley. I am going to go 2-0 to Tottenham. As I'm recording this right now, it is currently Tottenham 2, PSG 0. So maybe Tottenham 2-0. That's just the scoreline they're going for. Fair play to them if they do go and win this European Super Cup, because PSG are no easy team to beat. And yes, you can say it's a bit of a friendly. It's still a major European trophy. Don't let anyone have it any other way, Spurs fans. This is another European trophy. So yeah, Tottenham to beat Burnley, too much for them on the day, even though they've played today. I just think Burnley are going to really struggle to score goals. Their defence might be tight at times and difficult to break down, and Scott Parker will have his team very organised, of course. But Tottenham have got too much quality, especially with the new signing Kudus and Kulusevski, who's maybe not going to be fit. I think he's a doubt to play. But those are the sort of players that unlock defences, and I think they're just going to be simply too much for Burnley. So yeah, a Tottenham win, 2-0 is what I'm going for. Wolves up against Man City next, and Wolves are a bit of a tricky one this season. Some people say relegation, some people say mid-table. Where they're actually going to finish, I'm not actually 100% sure. I see the argument. When the manager came in last season, they finished the season so strong. They had a great start under him. Are they going to continue it now? Of course, they've lost Cunha. Will that affect them? Do they have a ready-made replacement? They've also lost Aït-Nouri to Manchester City. But overall, I do think Wolves will get a goal. I can see Man City being a little bit shaky. They don't often start the league great. But my key player for Manchester City, Erling Haaland, the captain of my FPL team, he is going to drive them through. I think he's going to score both the goals. I think it's his season again, 30 plus goals. Man City, too strong for them on the day. Close game. As I say, City don't always start great. And yeah, Haaland to do the business. Manchester City 2, Wolves 1. And finally, we have got Nottingham Forest up against Brentford. Interesting game this, because Brentford have obviously lost a few players. Is Wissa going to feature? I don't know. Is he going to maybe sit this one out with speculation of a move to Newcastle taking place? Going to be an interesting one there. They've also lost Mbeumo. So who is going to start on the wing? Of course, Thomas Frank went over to Spurs. So they've lost the manager as well. Keith Andrews has come in. I'm not sold on this. I think Brentford are going to be in trouble. I think they're going to get relegated. And with that, I also think that Nottingham Forest are going to have a worse season than last season, come in and around the mid-table area. They've kept Gibbs White, which is great news for them, but I'm anticipating Chris Wood to have a bit of a mediocre season. So yeah, very unsure for the end of the season where these two will finish, but on the day, first game of the season, Forest are going to have a bit too much for them. I can see Brentford being a bit lapsed defensively. Kelleher is a doubt for the game. Flecken has moved on. If that is the case, Brentford going to be in a real bit of trouble for that first game, away from home as well. Forest are going to be all confident. The fans are going to be very much in belief that they can push towards Europe again. I mean, last season, at some point, there was talk of them even winning the title. That was insane talk, but they believed it. So yeah, Forest fans are going to have high expectations. The players are going to be confident. The owner probably wants them to win the league. So yeah, 3 points for them to start the season, but it won't be the best season for them, is where I see it. So that is the Premier League preview, the first one of the season done. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think I've called a few games wrong here? As I say, I'm not going to miss a game week, so I'm going to stay here all season. Please subscribe. Get along for the journey. We're always looking for ways to improve the content, to improve the graphics. So every video I do, I'm aiming to make it 1% better. So I hope it is. But yeah, a big season ahead for the channel, a big season in the Premier League. Who's going to come out on top? I can't wait to find out, and we're going to get a real taste of what's to come in Game Week 1. So thank you very much, and I will see you on the next one when we go through the Premier League review at the end of the game week. But also before that, EFL review coming out on Friday morning. Have a look at that for League 1, League 2, and the Championship. But yeah, I'll see you on the next one.